Today we are starting a little bit different because those few moments I had just before I started streaming, I just wanted to give us a space to get present to miracle of life, an opportunity that we are here and now and healthy and we are safe. So for those of you who would like to join me, and I'm welcoming you all joining us, today's streaming is going to be about peace and about love. But before we go there, we are going to talk about our fears. We are going to talk about how to process all that is going on in the world right now. And I believe that being with me is going to have an impact in such a way that you will be living with new perspective, a new sense of new access to something new for yourself, for your life, and for you being able to swim in this crazy world and all that is happening inside it. So for a start, guys, let me know whether you are hearing me well and seeing me well. Hopefully, I've got a lots of sun here. I'm just trying not to, maybe I can do that. That's better, I think. So welcome, welcome, welcome everyone. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Lucia Hoxha and I'm a fertility coach supporting women all over the world on their journey towards motherhood. And for, I think, about past 5 years, with a little break when I was giving birth and having my little tiny little babies, I've been streaming for you for the past 5 years, every week or every other week since I've been a mom, bringing you value, talking about things that I believe that it matters to talk in life, and maybe about things that not many people are talking about or being open about. And this project started very spontaneously. I can't even remember how, but we just decided to talk about things that maybe I felt that people would like to hear about. And I was inspired by my own story, and then I was inspired a lot from my clients and from your stories and your interaction with me. Many of you are writing to me in personal messages, and today I was planning to stream and talk about something completely different, which also would be a great subject, but because of what is going on in the world right now, and this Thursday was really the day that I think affected the news in the morning, affected all of us in certain way, and many of us are feeling actually very, very scared. I thought that I will dedicate this streaming to something that I believe in this point of time is going to be the most valuable for you. So today we are going to be talking about, how to manage our fears and worries about the situation in Russia and Ukraine. And we are not going to be talking politics. We are going to be talking about, how to not only cope, but maybe even get a new perspective and make it much easier for ourselves to function in this crazy and often very scary world. So if this subject resonates with you, and first of all, I would like to give you a question, and please write in the comments, because I would love to tell me with one word, how did you feel when you heard the news, whether it was from your colleague at work or whether it was on the news on the way in a car, on the way somewhere? Like, what was the first thing that came to your mind when you heard the news? That I don't even want to word it because I don't want to generate that energy, but when you heard about situation that is happening with Russia, between Russia and Ukraine, what was the first thing that came to your mind? write in the comments just in one word, or if you can't describe it in one word, try to describe it in one sentence, or how did you receive it. I think in my case, how did I receive it? I think I heard it on the news, yes, in the morning, quite early in the morning, because I'm an early riser. And I think my first thought was, this can't be true. I think that was my first thought. I just couldn't believe. And then I started thinking, no, I must have misheard it, or it's not really happening. No, it's just my brain started generating, like I just, maybe I didn't hear it very well or something. My brain just couldn't believe that. And then later on in the day, I heard neighbors talking, and I think my nanny was talking, and people talked like in a shop, and then I went to Kaufland to get some shopping, and I couldn't park anywhere. On Friday, that was actually not Thursday, Friday. And I was like, oh my God, this is like, I live in a small town. There's not much movement during the workday. And on Friday, about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, there was nowhere to park. And I was like, is this it? Like, people are starting panicking, because I live in a country that is bordering with Ukraine. And really, just a few hundred kilometers, these bombings are happening. I mean, it's relatively far, but we never been in this situation. So this streaming is for all of you who are either a little bit shaken by the news, naturally, same as I was, and also, or those who are shaken and also live in Slovakia or anywhere near. I've got a lot of Ukrainian friends who might be watching, so lots of love, and not only Ukrainians, also to Russians, because these people didn't choose what is going on, right? So lots of love to all those people being affected, and also, this streaming is also for all of you who are worried about your loved ones, whether living in Slovakia or in Poland or in surrounding areas or in Russia or Ukraine. This is for all of us who feel that it just doesn't make sense, okay? And who feel also a little bit scared, because, I mean, it's human nature, right? Like, we didn't have, most of us watching this streaming, we didn't ever experience the war that is happening so close to us. And, like, God knows what is really happening, right? I was studying mass media, so they always used to tell us, don't believe everything what you hear in media. So, like, I'm offering benefit of doubt, but we are not going to talk about politics today. We are going to be talking about how to deal with a fear. And I want to give you, I even put the notes in. I was up since 1 o'clock in the morning, guys, preparing this for you. So hopefully it will land and it will make a difference to all of us, actually. So let's just start, because I want to offer you something tangible and valuable that you will leave with today, talking about fears. So let's just put things into perspective, okay? Just for a start, I want to give you peace of mind with something. Let's just acknowledge that it is a situation that is happening. And let's acknowledge two things that are very, very important. And by the way, I'm going to talk about this situation, but I am going to talk generally about fear. So you can apply to anything, what you feel worried or scared about in your life that is holding you back in some form of fear. And sometimes we don't even admit that it's fear, but it's actually fear that is holding us back and paralyzing us from living our lives fully. Okay, so apply it into your life the way that it serves you. Yeah. So first of all, let's acknowledge, but I'm going to specifically talk about this situation we are facing, the news that broke on Thursday. So first of all, let's acknowledge that right here, right now, we are safe. Okay, there has been news that has been breakdown, in terms of the conflict nearby for many of us. And yes, there is a bombings, there is evidence of it, and the peace has been broken. So that's the fact. What is important to acknowledge is right here, right now, where you and I are, we are safe, okay? At the moment, there is sun shining outside of my window. We still can go and do the shopping in Tesco's, although it's hard to park, which was shocking for me how many people mean shopping. It's probably panic setting off on Friday. But, you know, like, we are safe. Let's just acknowledge that there is no immediate danger. The only thing what feels scared is up here, is in our head, in our brain, is the construct of our feelings and emotions that are impacting how we feel about situation. And of course, you know, watching the news and being surrounded with people who are scared doesn't ever help. You know, so if you have a grandma who is going, oh no, you know, I experienced the war, we can't have a war, it's terrible, that doesn't help, of course. You know, this mass panic that can be sometimes set. But first of all, let's acknowledge there is no immediate fear. Even I was talking to one of my clients today, and you know, she's also very concerned, and you know, and even those people who are hiding right now with their small children is, by the way, heartbreaking. Being a mom, that's why one of the reasons why I'm streaming today, because I'm mom myself, and if I'm honest, I was crying this morning. I did watch the news, and I did see the footage of people hiding in a tube in Kiev, and you know, and at the same time, I want to say, yes, it's absolutely horrendous situation. However, those people hiding in the tube in Kiev, even though it's really threatening and not ideal, even them, right now, where they are, there is no bomb, you know, they are safe for the moment, in that moment. What I'm trying to communicate to you is that unless there is immediate danger, which happens very, very, very few times, I promise you, in reality, you know, it can be car accident, but you never expect it, it just happened, right? Like, I've been in one, luckily not dangerous one, I've been hit by the car, but, you know, like, I didn't expect it, I couldn't be worried about it, I couldn't be scared of it, you know, but that was immediate danger. But other than that, very few times in our lives, we are in immediate danger. Yes, our brain has been developed, very rightly so, to be able to protect ourselves from immediate danger. From the times when we've been hunting for the mammoths, this we are talking about thousands of years ago. That's the primitive part of our brain that is wired up to acknowledge any kind of out of the comfort zone, new situation, new person, you know, the war, you know, we all heard from school, you know, we have a visuals of war, we have experience, we have our own brain understands war as a disaster. So, you know, like, it's very natural that our brain is, our primitive part of the brain is evaluating it as an immediate threat. And it's very important to acknowledge that there is no immediate threat. Right here, right now, you're watching me, you're safe, you're breathing, your family is safe, right? So that's the first thing I want to acknowledge, that really helps me in any kind of situation where I know that fear is just manufactured by my own brain, as in my feelings and emotions. Okay? And we do, me, you, we have influence over this. Just first of all, we need to have that information, that awareness about it. And the second thing that is really, really helpful in this situation is to acknowledge that you and I, very likely, almost 100%, we have absolutely no influence on where this is going. Like, unless you are Putin watching me, or, you know, we have no practical way how to change the situation, right? And so it's very important to acknowledge this. And because we have no way of changing it directly, I'm talking about directly, then, just let go. Let go, because if there is nothing you can do about it, you might as well just let go. I know it's easier said than done. However, with the same breath, I'm going to say a thing that what we actually absolutely can do. And that's the message, probably one of the main messages from this streaming. And what we can do is to consciously choose what kind of conversations, whether in our own head or with our friends, our family, our neighbors, we are going to engage with. So I'm talking about, are we going to join this panic motion of, oh my God, what a terrible thing. I don't even want to say it out loud, right? I don't want to go further. Thank you for your love. Or are we going to choose to consciously generate something beautiful that is going to come out of this for us? How? Well, it needs to be authentic to you. Like, I would love to hear people in the news talking. I was actually really a little bit pleased because they started talking about positives of whatever is happening, and I will mention it in a minute, but let me just say this, getting something positive for yourself. So whether it's, gratitude for being alive and safe and having opportunity to be with your family. As an amazing start. Having a shelter. I mean, you know how cold it is outside. Like, I'm up since 1 a.m. and I just opened the window to air my room, and it was freezing. All those people being outside, like, what a privilege to be warm right now. Like, really. So, turn it around. First of all, acknowledge how lucky we are. There is no immediate danger. And also, I want to say that, yes, war, any kind of war is absolutely, everything. In fact, everything I've been doing for the past 19 years was to create a peace in the world within my lifetime, everywhere. And I know it's a big goal, and some of you will be so resigned, like, right, this is not possible. And yes, I mean, right next to me, there is another, what I call no agreement about my vision. Of course, I don't want to do it on my own. I've got plenty of people who are doing amazing, work together with me, and with some of them we collaborate, which is amazing. And there is so much fantastic, amazing things happening, like this movement that is happening, that is not in the news, that you might not even find out or know about, in terms of, these peaceful meditations that are happening all over the world right now. There is a project to one of my friends got a fantastic, like, charity for years. She had it, like, literally saving children's lives in Uganda. I mean, there is I can, my friend David, he's sheltering one, in UK, the Hunger Project, like, huge project that is providing food for people. I mean, it's just amazing things, like, Tony Robbins is doing his basket brigade every Christmas. It's just whatever we open our eyes and ears for, so another thing is, do we allow, where do we get our food? I'm talking about our food for our soul. Is it switching on the news? I must admit, hand up, I was watching the news today. But a lot of us are super sensitive and not prepared to watch the news. Like, I watch it from the perspective of, almost like practicing practicing how to receive it, how to process it. But sometimes we just need to, take a time off the media, especially these days when we feel that is really bringing us down. And also, when also feel the right to say, not to make anyone wrong, but to say if someone is talking about these things and it's very negative, just choose to remove yourself from that situation. If it's not doing you well, don't engage in it, and choose to leave the conversation, or even like freely say, listen, I just want to talk about something else, or should we just focus on, have a nice day without mentioning it. And it's okay to talk about our feelings and emotions, but it's different to release something, and it's different when we kind of like engage in it and start. It's like a snowball, like when you're making a snowman, it's like getting bigger and bigger, and you feel, and before you know it, you're depressed. Like so many people at the moment are really, really, really down. I mean, we had a long time with COVID, and now this news broke down, and who knows, like where is the truth? Like who knows? I mean, just to give you another peace of mind, I suppose another perspective is like, do you remember those times when COVID news broke? Like it was, I think for me it was like good 1 week when I was waking up every morning thinking I'm in a sci-fi movie. It was time when people started wearing masks and it was all weird, and it was all these predictions about, terrifying predictions. None of that happened. I mean, yes, I acknowledge, I'm absolutely deeply sorry for all those people who lost their loved ones. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but, like the fear of it, including me, I was scared, was much greater than actual reality. So that's another perspective, another little bit puzzle in terms of peace of mind for all of us, that my dad used to say, nothing is as bad as it seems and nothing is as good as it seems. Now, I like to enjoy the good bits, but I agree with the first part. Does that make sense? I like to celebrate life. And I learned this. I was someone before who was focusing on what is not working, what needs to be improved. Now I like to celebrate so much more. Anyway, I'm drifting, but I thought I mentioned it. So what I also want to say is that, and I want to ask you, does this make sense so far? Is it giving you something? Because I want this to be interactive. I don't want it to be a TV. So if you send me a little heart or even like thumbs up, that would be great, because that will encourage me that I'm making sense and this is communicating to someone. And if you have any comments, please comment. If you have any questions, like let me know how you're feeling. Let me know what is coming up for you. What's going on in your surroundings? Thank you. What's going on with people? What people are talking about in your environment? What conversation are you having in your own head? Yeah, just turn on the volume a little bit, get present, because that will give you information. Because every time we face some kind of crisis, which has a tendency to trigger the fear in us, it's always something that has always been there. It's not like new thing. It's always been there. Like scared of being safe in terms of your finances or something. Now the war is, it gets even more scary. Yeah? Or scared of being, like everything is just amplified. It's like when you have alcohol and you already feel sad. After you have 2 shots, you're bawling your eyes out. It's not like suddenly you get really happy because you had the drink. Do you know that feeling? So it's the same with some kind of threatening situation that in our brain is not reality, but in our brain perceives it as something real, unless we have our awareness that we have a certain control over it. But first we need to have awareness that there is no immediate danger. Now, Our brain has been wired up this way. Why? Because thousands of years ago, there have been a big animals. And we had no guns, no tools to kill them. And we needed to eat. So men still put themselves at risk in order to hunt for this big animal. But the truth was, as soon as you left your cave, you've been the prey for all these, not smarter, but bigger animals than you. So our brain, in order to survive, for us to survive as a species, had to develop this function to for the response that most of you know, fight, flight, or freeze response. Yeah? When we are in perception or immediate danger, that's what we do. We fight, we fly, or we freeze. I'm not going into depth of it, but that's one of the operating systems that we choose. And of course, when our brain is in this kind of panic mode, we cannot make conscious decisions. We are making decisions out of fear. I'm talking a lot about this in our coaching, like freeing yourselves from fear, stress, and anxiety is a huge thing. Like, it's a huge part of our personal freedom and very, very important. Why? Because in any situation, if we keep on taking decisions on a basis of fear, we are going against ourselves in the long run. You know, is the situation like you take the job, although you know you are not going to be happy there, but you need the money. Anything, you don't have a choice. You do, but you do the quick solution, quick fix. And I'm not saying right or wrong, of course, every situation is different. But you know what I'm trying to say? Staying with a partner because you know deep inside you're not supposed to be there. You know that you're not happy. You haven't been for years. But you're staying because it's known. It's what you know. It's that factor of, it's not good, but what if I leave? What would happen then? Uncertainty feels like danger to us. So that's why our brain often feels scared, you know, and backs down from new opportunity, you know, pursuing, moving a house. Oh no, too much hassle, too much pain. Our brain is constantly evaluating. And most of the time, what our brain is doing is trying to avoid the pain. You know? Avoid the pain. And of course, we are being pulled in by pleasure, but that's a good thing. Let's keep that one. But you know, a lot of our actions, unless we raise our consciousness, are driven by fear. And therefore, we are limited. Our experience of life is very limited. When I was a teenager, I loved this movie called Dance in Your Heart. And I don't know why, I just heard this one sentence in that movie. Didn't see it for years now. But I still remember that one sentence. And I don't know whether it's in Latin or it's in Spanish. It was a Spanish girl playing there. Oh, well, it was in Spain. So all about flamenco and all that. I loved it. And they said one sentence, and correct me if you have any Spanish speaker. I don't speak Spanish. I would love to. I've got it on my bucket list, but you know, I will say it anyway, okay? It was something that said, vivir con miedo es como vivir en medias. I think it's in Spanish. And what it means, apparently, or what I remembered, apologize if I muffled it in, but what I remembered is this amazing thing, and that was age of 15 I think. And it's, in translation, it should mean something like, live your life in fear is like to live on half. And somehow that stayed with me ever since then. I didn't really understand like fully, to be honest, like in that age, but somewhere there, you know, in my brain, it just subconsciously it just settled there, and it's very true, you know, like living in fear. And now this situation, what is happening now, it is And who knows, maybe it's manufactured that way. Maybe it is to suppress ourselves, because if we are living in fear, we are not going to raise our hand. We are not going to voice ourselves, to create something, to make a difference, to, fight for our rights or trying to make a difference. We are going to be suppressed, our self-expression is going to be suppressed. We are going to, go into this survival mode. So very, very important to acknowledge this. Now, another aspect of it, which I want to a little bit mention about, because I know a lot of you watching are parents, it was something that hit me this morning as well. Like, my girls are only 2.5, so they're too young to understand this at the moment. But still, like, I already started thinking, like, how do we explain this to our children? Like, how do you explain to your kids what is going on right now? Like, whether it's COVID or whether it's situation in Russia and Ukraine. Like, how do we, depends how old is a child, of course, but, psychologists say that if it's better to hear if the child is in a age of sort of understanding that something is off, right? It's better to hear it from the parents first than hear it from somewhere else. And there is no right or wrong, and I'm not going to go into depth of it. Maybe next week. I'm actually really interested in this subject. But like, there was an amazing thing and that I experienced a few years ago when I was having like homework. Like, so my clients, whoever is watching is here, know that I give you homeworks and assignments, and when I, of course, all of them I was doing myself in my own personal development. And I remember when I was doing my one of my homeworks was 1 years ago, for the period of 1 week, act and feel and get as close as possible to child's world, like whatever children, how they view the world, how they interact, how they speak, how they are curious, how they're innocent. And it was amazing week. I remember that time. And I was also observing children a lot, not being mom at that time. I was far before I became mom. And there was one amazing thing that happened, and it's to do with a child and a war, so I thought I share it here. And it was this little boy called Michael, and I don't know how Michael was old then. I think he was about 5 years old. And that was when the war in Syria started. And I was on a visit, and mommy and daddy been watching the news, and it was actually, I was in Dubai, and Michael's parents been run away from Syria to find a shelter. It was just starting the war at the time. And I was with a friend who generously gave them, providing them with the shelter and house. And I remember Michael watching these news on the TV, and he said to me, and he saw, like, there is war and there was these bombings and stuff, and you can't shield children completely from it, right? We try, but there's a balance. And he said this amazing thing, this little 5-year-old, and he said, he called me Lucy. He said, Lucy, and they don't like each other? And I said, sweetheart, and it's so hard to answer these questions, right? And I said, sweetheart, they are not friends at the moment. I said, and is it like me and Billy? Like, when we sometimes argue? And I was like, yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, they also argue. Same as you argue with Billy in kindergarten. And he said, okay, so after are they going to shake hands after like Billy and I do? And in that moment, I really got it. I really got Child's World, but I really got how life would be a better place if we have... Anyway, you know what I'm trying to say with this story, right? This is a deeply emotional subject for me also because I work with a lot of women who I see that impact of their upbringing not being perfect, the mom and dad being divorced, and you know, alcohol in a family, and you know, lots of different things impacted their adult life in such a way, their relationships, the way they relate to themselves, the confidence and so on. And I see how much, you know, damage can be done just by not even such big things, you know, like I'm not talking war, I'm just talking war in a family, which is also, you know, big deal for a small child, and it has a huge impact that we often have to, you know, spend almost our whole adult life if we have a privilege to heal from it. But it is possible at the same time, and amazing things happen on the other side, of course. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. But what I'm trying to say is that, you know, we are the generation of people. We are only like second generation, me, I'm talking my age, from the generation who experienced like full-on Second World War. Like my dad was born in 1942. He was a child of the war. And just recently my dad told me that it was new information. He said to me, I was a really bad boy. And I was like, what do you mean, Dad? It was like, well, as a little child, I was like crying so much. Like my mum, I remember she told me that I've been crying all the time. And I said, Dad, but it wasn't that you've been a bad boy. It's just, and I remembered the stories he used to tell me, because my dad lived in a far eastern Slovakia, where basically where all the front was going, you know, like all the soldiers. I mean, in his village there have been like shooting, bombings, all the bullets going through. And in actual fact, my dad, he was too little to remember, but there was a lot of talking about it years afterwards, where actual bomb landed in the neighbor's garden and killed the horse. And because of the crater, because of the hole, you know, they actually buried the horse in that hole afterwards. And so, you know, like, I was just thinking, oh my God, you know, like, my dad maybe was subconsciously, you know, raised in this, like, I was a bad boy, but he wasn't. He was just like this sensitive child. And imagine, like, his mom, there were no men, right? There was just women, because men been, you know, fighting or dead. So his mom had to, you know, provide a shelter for my dad, and they had to run in a cellar every single time when there was a little bit of danger, in the middle of cooking a Sunday dinner, which probably they didn't even cook because there was barely, you know, resources for bread. Anyway, imagine that situation. And, you know, of course the child was impacted by it, because the fear from my grandmother, must have been, imagine. Like, you are scared for your life, but imagine you are a mother. Now I get it. Thank God. You know, I've got 2 little daughters. You do anything. You do anything to keep your children safe. And she was in that mode and, you know, scared. And, I mean, God knows. So what I'm trying to say with this is that my dad was crying because he felt subconsciously, even as a baby, he felt how scared his mom was, and he was just expressing those emotions, because his mom just needed to get on with it, right, and survive, make sure they survive. So And why I'm saying this story is that I can't, like, is now happening, and I know it's not like, there's different places in the world, and this is only, we talk about it because it's so close to home, right? And it's happening in Africa, it's happening in, you know, Asia. Is like even worse things right now are happening, like worse, you know, what is worse, what is better, but you know, this is close to home, so we are talking about, and I just, you know, I just want to say that what I'm deeply upset about is that those children, we are the second generations from our grandparents who experienced the war. Like, they've been there, they had the real experience of it. Well, my grandparents did, from my dad's side. And now we have another generation. There are young people like you and I who've got children who are facing the same situation, and it will have an impact on generations to come. And how much healing will need to be done for all those children, for all those people. I mean, it's just so unnecessary. Anyway, of course, you know, I'm absolute stand for peace, and now I'm going to say a little bit more about what can we do about it. So, you know, I mentioned earlier that we have no say of what Putin is going to do, or, you know, about politics. What we do have a say is what energy we are going to be generating. And so I want to encourage you guys, all of you, including myself, I'm speaking to myself at the same time. I want to encourage all of us to generate love, generate peace. I don't know, go for a nice walk with your mom today. Enjoy the sunshine. Take a little acts of kindness, like help your neighbor with the shopping, carrying her bag up the stairs. Make a cookies together. Pick up the phone and say your dad you love him. Even if you've never done it in your life. And he will be thinking you're crazy. Or dying, God forbid. But you know what I'm joking. Do something that is going to generate this love. Do something that is going to break the pattern, because where there is a love, there is no space for fear. Like, literally, you can't have two things at the same time. You try it. You either have love or you have a fear. And so the more love you will generate, of course, the more peace you will have. And there will be no space for fear. And if you're watching this streaming, you are on a really good path. Because that means that my energy and whatever I'm saying resonates with you. That means that you're already on your way. Which is great news. So share it. You know, share this video. Share it with your friends. Share it with the way you speak. The approach you will choose. Be conscious what kind of thoughts are going through your mind. And it's nothing wrong being scared, guys. It's totally normal, okay? I'm just giving you access to something different and new, something that is going to give you relief and, I believe, much more peace and also, you know, power, actually, because you have a say. Also, one other thing I wanted to say and acknowledge is that during the war, sorry, I'm not that well and my nose is just going, but hopefully I will be able to keep on speaking. During the war, yes, war is terrible, but I want to again bring you new dimension. What is also happens in the war, and I loved and I prefer to talk about that, and I'm so glad that they mentioned it on the news, on the Slovak news last night. Really pleased. They've been starting talking about, you know, heroes of the war, but more importantly, heroes from the perspective of the normal, common human beings who, and I'm not talking about war heroes, yes, those of course, but as well, but about normal people, you know, from villages who show their humanity. I mean, war is giving us opportunity to show our true face, to show our humanity. So there's a lot of moving tremendously moving stories that are happening right now, where people are sharing the food, where people are helping each other not to be scared, where the strangers are holding each other's hands and hugging. You know, these things really, really deeply move me. And so I want us to, you know, be open to talk about those things as well. Not just about, you know, whatever fear is telling us to talk about. Does that make sense, guys? So this is what we can do to share and to acknowledge that we have a say of how it's going to go. We actually have a say energetically, because if the more we raise the consciousness of the planet, the more, and what we can do is start from ourselves, right? That's all we can do. And, you know, maybe, I mean, my work is fulfilling because I help you to raise your consciousness, but more of us will raise the consciousness on this planet, the less space there will be for fear, the less space will be for, the energy will travel, so the less space will there be for conflicts and for, you know, situations like what is happening now since Thursday, just east from the border where I live. So does that make sense? You know, like, and this is it. It's not impossible. You know, I said earlier, peace everywhere in a world within my lifetime. And it is possible. The consciousness of the world is raising. I see it everywhere. I see it with my clients. I see it with people I meet, with co-leaders that I meet all over the world. The consciousness is rising. And we can, you know, we can do what we can do. And we can do, you know, if nothing else, then next time you are feeling scared, just pause for a little moment and ask yourself, is this real? Is this real threat and fear right now? Or am I just worried that maybe I will lose the job? What if? Future is unpredictable. It's not here. So please, 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 let's stop wasting our time worried about what if. It's not here. Let's celebrate life as much as possible. Let's share the enjoyment. Let's make a cookies. Let's do something that is going to make us happy. So, you know, we raise the love. We raise the love. We share the love. And I know it sounds like hippie 60s, but God, that's true. It's very, very true. And where there is love, there is no space for fear, whether it's inside your mind or collectively as a, you know, as a country, as a society, as a human beings together. So guys, I think that's I mean, I've got a lot of notes here. I'm just looking at it, whether I'm, you know, wanted to say something else. There's a lot more to say about this. Maybe I will just mention that the time when I experienced the fear was during the London bombings, where I was actually very close. I was at one of the trains at Aldgate. Actually, before the train that exploded at Aldgate. For those of you who've been living in London at the time, I was on my way to work, and there was one explosion at 9:35, which would be the train that if I take another train. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that we didn't know what's going on. Long story short, when we find out it's not a power cut, that is actually bombings happening all over the London, that was a very scary moment. But for me, what was the most, where it really, really hit me, and I never forget that moment, it was the time, well, nobody was really working that day, right? But when we've been released to go home, there was no way to get home because there was no buses, no trains, no tubes. You know, how do you get 30 kilometers home, right? If you have no car and no public transport is working. So we all been, you know, in the pubs Pubs been absolutely filled with people, because where else do you go in London where you have nowhere to go? So the pub's been full, and of course every pub had a screen on with the news, because we needed to know how we are going, for the practical reason, and of course everybody was, wanted to know what's going on. And I remember that moment where there was a lady, they've been doing the live interview with one of the survivors, who she had literally not only cut face, but she had still pieces of the glass, like inside her, several places in her face. And she was, they've been doing an interview with her at Aldgate, and that was the scary moment. And I must admit, guys, like, it took me good 2 or 3 months. I felt really quite anxious going in a tube again. But why I'm saying this is that, there was a reality that happened. I experienced it, but, again, like, the only thing that got me out of that was that I am not in immediate danger. There is, and I must admit, we've been suspicious, and there've been an announcement like anyone suspicious back is reported, like, because there was like bombs in a rucksack and stuff. Anyway, without going really deep into this, fear is very, very powerful thing that can freeze you. Like, it can paralyze you from living your life, from enjoying your life, from meeting your friends, from going in the gym, from traveling home, from, doing all sorts of things. But please remember, nothing is as bad as it seems. Don't allow this situation to paralyze you. Keep on living your life, even more, like, keep on living the best life you can, and do whatever you can from your point of view, even if it's just like changing your thought process, or having new conversation with your neighbor, or stepping away from the conversation that is not giving you good feeling. For me, I can say that I've been recently, we are launching this group program, which, is about masculine and feminine, and understand energy of men and women, so they get a greater connection with each other. And you know what, like, in this situation with all this going on, I feel even more encouraged to keep on doing what I've been doing for almost 20 years now, and create. And even this video, like, I'm doing in a space of that, because it just makes even more sense, to keep on doing this work that is bringing the light and love and new future to people and society. So for me, I find this even more like encouraging, and my motivation to keep on going and do not stop until my last days, because that's the one thing that makes sense to me. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. Thank you so much for sharing this video. If you feel that it's going to bring a peace to your friends, maybe family members, anyone who do you think would this contribute to, please share it, because you never know, you can really bring a lot of peace, even from these few tips that I was sharing with you. I'm sure that, oh my god, my nose is so blocked now, I can barely speak. But what I want to say is that, last thing, and I say it again because I think it's so important, the more we create the space for love in our heart, starting with our heart, the less space there is for fear. So do whatever makes you happy, and please, not only then, do not stop living your life because there is something going on there, but live with even more passion and even more joy just because of it. Thank you guys for watching. Have a beautiful weekend. I love you all, and yeah, that's what I want to say.